Alrighty, welcome to the second part of Pod Review. Welcome to Podcasts. Senior Instructor Lynnette Tatum will now show us how to capture podcasts with what she calls the podcatcher from anywhere in the world and maybe beyond. So here we go, Lynnette Tatum.
Thank you. All right, now I want to start. Let's see. Hold on.
Selected. 141 upgrades.
1 second. Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, no. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because you heard the mic was going to start complaining. So hang on 1 second.
Economics radio.
No.
Embed. Good up. Dev. The cool. Cool block. Code switch. See. Cap. Blind bit. Put guns into talks. Blind side. The blind user. Blind organ. Blind.
You're hearing all of these. Betty in the sky. Beautiful.
Technology. Arts. PBS.
This is when I had this wonderful thing. I said, I'm going to start with a podcast. Never mind. So, yes? You're all good? Yeah, the mic started humming. Will it be okay if I turn it back? No. Okay. Back in about 2005 or so, I can't even remember who suggested what to whom, but they said, they said the word podcast. We said, what? What is a podcast? And it turns out that a podcast, you know how you listen to WNYC or whatever favorite radio program you listen to on a daily or weekly or monthly basis? That's syndication, correct?
Yep.
So you sit in front of your whatever device and you hear that program faithfully, okay? And back in the day, we actually had to sit in front of whatever device that was, a radio, okay? And, and wait till 3 o'clock or whatever it was to hear, wait, don't tell me. Okay, right? So someone decided, let's see if we can turn that a program into something where you can hear it on your schedule and not just their schedule. Sounds good, right? So back in the day, just to go back a little bit, for those of you familiar with American Printing House, okay? American Printing House, there's a genius guy there, and his name is Mr. Larry Scutcon. To those of us using the screen reader, he's Larry Scutcheon, okay? So Larry Scutcheon somehow said, there is something, and it blew all of our minds. We said, what is he talking about? He said, I have a feed. What is a feed? It turns out he figured out a way to connect the URL, Uniform Resource Locator, of some audio together, if you will, and so that you could then put it through a particular program called, and at that time we called them applications, or program if you wanted, same thing, called iPodder. And iPodder was lovely. They changed their name to Juice, but the wonderful thing about iPodder and Juice is that you would put in the URL for a particular piece of audio, and then you could download that audio to your computer. Does anybody remember here, because I know everybody's using Apple Music and everything else, but does anybody remember MP3s?
Yes.
MP3 files, right? I have thousands. We still have them. Yay! Okay, so it would come in as an MP3 file, and we would be able to listen to it on our time. Now, what did he do that was so incredible? One, he would go to work every day with his faithful guide dog, Jake, and he would talk technology, and we were all riveted, okay? He still works, I can't remember, he made a screen reader. That was his first big project, creating a screen reader. He is totally blind.
Philando Castile is one who's legal.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to turn that off.
Speech off.
Thank you. Because I have, okay.
Look around.
Wow, what is,
Around me.
ooh.
GPS is
It's, okay, I obviously, please talk amongst yourselves while I close something here.
GPS accuracy is good. 215 feet.
Okay. Who cares about the GPS accuracy?
Voiceover on.
Thank you.
Messages. Active.
Okay.
Closing messages. Closing left. Closing Twitter event. Podcast apps. Closing news.
Okay.
Closing calendar. Closing Amazon. Closing
Gotta have-
contacts. Chase.
Be here a while.
Closing Chase.
I'm hoping it doesn't do too much. I'm trying to find,
Square.
there it is.
Closing Blind Square.
Thank you.
Blind Mobile.
Okay, wonderful.
Settings. One new item.
He taught us about MP3 files and bit rates and all of that stuff so that we could then turn around and upload, oh, that was the most painful part of the process, but upload our audio to a website called Blind Cool Tech. And yay! And Blind Tool Tech became very popular. And what happened was we all started uploading podcasts. We were creating podcasts and we were uploading them to the Blind Cool Tech website. And then that Blind Cool website was dropped into our podcatcher, and we could listen to anybody's audio at any time. Okay? So that's basically what a podcatcher is. Now, many years later, oh, by the way, I produced a podcast called the Malin Slice of Life podcast for about 5 years or so. And I get folks to this day asking me to do it again. It's a good amount of work, but it was fun. I learned how to edit files and do all of that. So if you ever want to do something like that, you too can be a podcast producer yourselves. I heard a yes over there. Because I know that there is nobody in here who has nothing to say. So if you feel that you have something to say about any topic, ladies and gentlemen, literally, you can find a podcast from A to Z and everywhere in between. Okay? So if you give me a few seconds to work with my iPhone here, 1 second, I'm just going to play one.
Overcast. Overcast.
Okay.
Settings. Button.
Overcast is my podcatcher of choice. I will tell you about the native podcast because inevitably whenever you have, especially an iPhone user, they'll say, well, why don't you use the one that's on the phone? And that's how they sound too. They sound pretty petulant, you know? Why aren't you using that one? And I say, well, because it doesn't have enough features. And one of the features I enjoy is a speed feature. Now, for those of you who have iPods or just iDevices, to my knowledge, you have podcasts. You have the podcast podcatcher. And it is quite simple, but again, it doesn't have a speed feature. But what it does have that is very important to yours truly is a sleep timer. Okay? So that's something to consider. And it does come standard with all of the other, or bundled rather, with all of the other apps. Okay? So podcasts is one. The one I'm using now is called Overcast.
Assistive technology frequently asked questions.
Okay.
Podcast.
There's one. I would like to, if I don't get to mention it, or to play all the ones I want to mention that the folks who were just here, Freedom Scientific /VFO, have a podcast. If you are interested in all things VFO, I listen to it myself. It comes out, I believe, on a monthly basis with Mr. Jonathan Mosen. It is called FS Cast, right? There you go, FS Cast. Okay? So it is very good. And they are offering a prize, I believe, this month. I think it might be Fusion, actually, so, but don't quote me. Oh, well, there you go. Now,
Arts PBS News Hour.
let's say we want to hear Arts PBS Hour. Now, I'm going to, I don't know, you'll let me know if I need to turn this up. I'm going to double tap.
Technology frequently.
Not that one?
PBS News delete.
No, we don't want to delete.
Arts PBS
Double
active.
tap.
Assistive technology frequently
Okay.
asked questions. At that podcast.
Okay,
Activate.
activate. Hold on one second.
Delete. Activate.
Thank you.
Selected.
Here we go.
Assistive technology.
Okay.
FX
I'm going to take the one that opens.
Select alt.
Now you have options. Before, the podcast used to simply play, and now you have options.
Play. Button.
You can play,
Cue. Button.
cue it for a playlist.
Recommend. Button.
You can recommend it,
Share. Button.
share it,
Delete. Button.
delete it,
Cancel.
and
Button.
cancel. We're going to go to play. Now of course, because I was going to do this today, there I was, practicing and making sure everything played. I tapped on the thing last night, and it sat there as if I hadn't done a thing. But I turned off my device, turned it back on, and it came on. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to swipe to the left to go to play.
Delete. Share. Recommend. Cue. Play. Button. Play. Assistive technology frequently asked questions. At that.
I have a question.
Oh,
Like what?
I've always wondered.
What about, do you know?
I have a question.
There you
I've
go.
always
That's
wondered.
Like, I have a question.
good.
I have a question.
Oh, I have a
They
question.
start with that. Oh, by the way, I did the this is a very lovely, for those using the iDevices, I use the magic tap with 2 fingers to stop it. You can stop and start. Not all apps support that feature. We like that, okay? So this is a podcast of people sending questions, and there is a team of assistive technologists who answer the questions, okay? So what I'd like somebody to do is, and I think that we might be able to do this, we'll see, name a show, like a radio program or perhaps even a TV show, we'll see.
News Radio 88.
I don't know if we would probably need a show.
60 minutes.
60 minutes, I can't believe you said that. Hold it. I am scared of you. All right, hold on. Hold on, I get it. Hold it.
60 minutes.
Turn it to 120.
60 minutes. All. But more to honor 60 minutes. Select alert. Hit play. Button. Play. 60 minutes. Mirror.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Connor, you're on line.
Of course that happened.
What'd you turn it off for?
Here it is, folks. And didn't that just went right over the tick, 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 tick? All that, I'm sorry about that. But, hold on.
60 minutes. Mirror. Share.
Okay, I'm gonna go back. No, action. That was terrible.
When you said in the promo you could hear anything, you weren't kidding.
No, I did not. Well, what? I'm gonna stop.
that's an ad. I've heard
Yeah,
that
it
ad.
was. Now that. Thank you, Rick. That's what I was gonna say. A lot of podcasts. When you start listening to podcasts, and I'll just name a few. They have 60 minutes. Even CBS Sunday Morning, Snap Judgment, Wait, Don't Tell Me. All of these come in as podcasts. And how are they paying for the people? Paying the people? They're using ads.
It was a Geico ad.
There you go. Right? Thank you, Rick. So, in any case, I wanted to get back and see if I can.
Microphone is good now.
60 minutes.
Are you sure? I'm scared.
Stay nearby.
Okay, 0 minutes. Now I'm going to try to go all the way back.
0 minutes. 0 minutes.
Okay.
0 second. Play. Button.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great, I thought.
Well, you know, when you switch to Geico, you can save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Middle schoolers from St. Ignatius and other schools took the trip to CBS Broadcast Center in New York to learn more about the man who will soon grace a wall in the Belmont section of West Philadelphia.
He's as close to Walter Cronkite as you can get.
Jeff Baker, executive producer of Six.
Now, what I was hoping was to hear the little tick, 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 but I don't know how. Thank you. You're gonna have to make do with the person over here, okay? But really, literally, you can have podcasts from soup to nuts, all genres, all subjects. Trust me. Just search for them.
June 11,
Okay.
2017 streamable.
You
June
can-
11, podcast, 70% battery power, roll podcasts.
You can. Let's see if I can get to add podcasts.
60 minutes. Heading, play. Selected. Play. Podcast. Roll podcast. Roll podcasts.
Back button.
Another round.
Okay.
Apple this podcast.
Yes. The Apple Viz podcast is also quite good for folks who are using obviously Apple devices, right? I don't yet know. Perhaps there's someone out there who knows whether there is an Android equivalent. I have not yet. I don't yet know of one.
Haven't seen one yet.
Okay. All right. Very good. So when the object of finding a podcast in any podcatcher is to search. So you would search or add, generally it says add podcast, and then comes the fun part where you type it in or you use a Bluetooth keyboard, and if your podcast is in the podcast directory, it will come up and you will be asked to subscribe. Okay? That is what you do to a podcast. You subscribe. It's not going to say something like add or anything like that. You're always searching for the subscribe button. When you search for those of you who go home or get on the bus or whatever, and you want to try out your podcast app, you will search at the bottom. There is a search tab, and you double tap on that. There is a search edit field. You can either dictate it. I haven't had much luck with that. But by all means, try it. And if there's anything remotely, like, if you know the exact name, like 60 Minutes or CBS Sunday Morning, put that in, search, and it will come up. Now, some come up in a list. For instance, Overcast will bring up a list of podcasts, and you double tap, and then you subscribe. Okay, same with podcasts for the iOS podcast app. The thing about that I want to tell you, for those of you who are going to try it right away, when you search in the iOS podcast app, the podcast comes up right above the tabs at the very bottom. It's on the left. This is half the time it's, well, where is it, right? Where did it find it? So in my searching and that, I said, it's above the left. Usually there is a list, and you start at the top-ish, kind of the middle-ish, and you swipe that way. Okay, you swipe to the right, and you double tap, and you subscribe, and then you begin populating your podcast list. Okay, I have an older Android device. I don't even know the treat. I'm not sure what it is, but I was able to download a podcast. The thing about that is, someone told me, I don't know if they're still in the audience, but they say that there are reasonably accessible podcatchers, at least one that they know of. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. So there are solutions for Android. There's an iCatcher podcast, and if I can open that, it does a very cute thing.
Actions available. Overcast.
It doesn't, will that bark?
Actions available.
It doesn't bark.
Position blue. Bottom of screen. Double tap to open.
Okay.
Calendar. Wednesday.
Oh,
Page
okay.
25.
There we go.
Access note.
Here we go.
Eye catcher.
Eye catcher. I started
Button.
with Eye Catcher, and it was like the first podcatcher I purchased for iOS, but then it became a little flaky, and I thought, oh, but now, well, let's see what we have here.
Note to self. Sunday
Note
1
to self.
a.m. 5 new downloads. 103 unplayed episodes. 1 selected. Podcasts.
All right,
Tab.
so
A 16Z. Sunday.
8 is, okay, well, then Doggy has something to say. I'm going to click on, if you will, tap on Note to Self. Father's Day bonus. That puppy is participating.
Third Love uses women's real measurements to create
Oh,
bras
Lord.
that fit better and feel comfortable in sizes AA through G, as well as their exclusive half cup sizes. Try one of Third Love's 24/7 bras for free for 30
All right,
days
ladies.
at thirdlove.com/note. Note to Self is supported by First
There
Republic
you go.
Bank. First Republic is dedicated to providing extraordinary service and changing the way clients feel about banking.
So there you
Visit
go.
firstrepublic.com to hear.
You go from undergarments to banking. You'll hear Blue Apron and all kinds of ads, believe me. So let's see if I can do this with any grace. You have
about banking. Visit
Okay.
firstrepublic.com. to hear what their-
play/pause, and then I'm going to
It's a
swipe to
privilege
the
to serve
right.
you.
Fast/next podcast. Button.
You hear that? That's fast forwarding.
Don't worry.
Doesn't it remind you of the old recorders? That's why I played that.
You could speed up the voice or slow it down.
Yes, you can. Well, I did that on purpose. That was a fast forward. Not
I
yet.
accidentally found out. I said, well, what's going on? I mean, my phone was going.
Oh.
My speed was reading really fast. This is Russian.
And-
Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you can do both. You can
Yeah.
when you fast forward, it's just like pressing the fast forward on a tape recorder, but you can also change the speed of the voice as it's reading. And you can change, you can change just change the speed of the podcast. If you have a lot of them, as I do, you want them to, you want to listen to them relatively quickly. Okay? Now, I know folks who listen to them at blah, 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 blah speed, and I just, no. But, reasonable we like. Okay? One thing about Eye Catcher that I noticed, for those of you who enjoy TED Talks has a video section, or if you will, TED Talks video. It will play the video for those of us who have some benefit of vision.
I was wondering, while you
Yes.
brought up the speed, I remember with the regular recorders, like from RFP, they did make a device that when you did listen to Mickey Mouse, you would, the Mickey Mouse, you would understand it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if these podcasts, if they,
Well, let's see. Hold on.
Series taking the lead, which we dropped into your feed. Rachel Ellis, series taking award winner.
Let's see if I can get to
Selected.
play.
Play/pause. Play/pause.
we have to get some graduate
But
students.
if you are intrigued,
1.25x.
1.25x.
your podcast feed.
1.5x.
I'll be back on Wednesday with a new Note to Self episode. But for now, enjoy this little morsel of fathering goodness, and I'm wishing you a relaxing day, Daddy-O.
We started out
That's
on
pretty fast, but it can get really fast, okay? And you can do this with Eye Catcher. You cannot do that with the native podcast app. You cannot speed it up. The only thing, as I said, is you have a sleep timer. You have a sleep timer, I believe, that you have a sleep timer in Eye Catcher, I believe, which is the one I have, and you have a sleep timer in Overcast. Is Ed Plumacher here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. Ed Plumacher and his cohort there, Mr. Brian Fischler, have a podcast called I Access VO. It is fun and interesting. And again, for those of you who want to try your podcasts, I would download that. Now, let's talk about downloading and streaming. You can stream a podcast, which means it's just playing, as if you're kind of playing your radio, or you can download it to your device. What's the advantage for me I'm usually home when I'm listening to podcasts for the most part. But I have them streaming. When you download, depending on the size of your device, you don't want to use up a lot of space, So then you have to go back and you have to delete and all of that stuff. So that's where streaming might be a little more efficient for you. But you
This
can...
Father's Day, a surprise.
Hush. Okay, so are there any questions so far?
Lynette.
Yes.
Fritz, question. So, say I like listening to Moth.
Oh, the moth. Thank you for mentioning. That's one on my list. Thank you.
I can stream it or I can download it.
You can.
Okay, so basically when I go to that particular title, the Moth podcast,
Yes.
it will give me a list of choices.
Well, first you will install, if it's not installed, your podcasts app, and you will go to the search area at the bottom right, okay? And you will put in the search text edit field, you will put the moth. And then you can search, use your search button, it should show up at the bottom right as well. And the moth will be there. And what I was saying about the podcast app is that the moth will show up. There are several tabs. Let me see if I can open this with some grace. Oh, Maria.
Podcast, over there, podcast,
Thank you.
podcasts,
Okay.
add, button,
So
search, tab.
there it is at the
Find.
very bottom right. That's the search.
Top charts.
Top charts.
Featured.
Featured.
My podcast.
My podcast.
2 of 5.
Okay.
Selected. Unplayed.
And you
Tab.
have
1 of 5.
unplayed. Okay.
Right.
So that's at the very bottom of your podcast app. This is the native app.
Right.
And when you search, it will put, instead of putting it in a list that we know is it's vertical, it puts it in a horizontal list. And usually, if you put in the moth, that is such a popular podcast that it will be right above the unplayed tab on your left. You will double tap on that, swipe to the right, hear it say subscribe, and done. And then you can go either to unplayed episodes or my podcasts to open it.
What is the moth?
The moth. Oh, we've done a moth. Well, the moth is a series of storytelling, yes. You stand up as I am and you tell your story in, we were given 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is pretty long, actually. But some go on longer. And you'll hear literally from soup to nuts. For those who know the moth, this is not true, right? Yes. You can hear all kinds of stories. And they have series. You know, they'll have from California series, from live at the Bell House, and so on and so forth, that kind of thing. So people are telling their stories. They have to be true. I have to put that in. Okay, so yes.
If somebody has questions, can you raise your hand so we can have somebody approach you with a microphone so we can film it and so everybody can hear your question. Anybody else with questions so far?
Oh boy.
We're in the back.
Just a minute.
Two.
Oh, there's a question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
The question is fine.
Yes.
I'd just like to know how do I get it, I learned how to do this, but on PC is the...
Yes, okay, I'm glad you asked. Let's see if this tech will work. I hope it will.
Podcast.
There is...
Actions available.
Oh, we know actions are available. There is an application called QCast. I believe it was created by Christopher Toff. It is, God bless you, for Windows PCs. I know that the Mac has its own podcatcher. Not being a Mac user, I don't know. It might just be called Podcast. I don't know. Okay? But QCast costs $15, and I purchased it. It is lovely. You can, let's see if we can do this. I'm going to, oh, my computer went to sleep. Okay, speak amongst yourselves.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. Now, while this is going on, literally, okay. People always ask, how do I know this and how do I learn that? Podcasts are an excellent way to learn something. Especially, you know, yes, some are fun, but you can do a lot of learning. There is the Cool Blind Tech podcast, Blind Bargains podcast. Do folks know JJ Meadow?
Yep.
Some folks here? Well, you'll get to know him because his is very easy to put in it's Blind Bargains podcast. And one of the things I wanted to do was to throw out a few podcasts, that are in the blind/vision impaired community. ACB Main Menu has come back. They talk tech, a lot of great tech, inexpensive and non-expensive, inexpensive to expensive. So here we go. Let's see. All right. Okay. You're so quiet. My computer was on, and now it's, let's see what it's doing. So I like QCast. I'll just talk about it. Because it is a Windows application, and it has a wonderful search feature. You just press Control S obviously for search. You type in the name of the podcast and enter, and you are presented with a list that you can arrow through. It doesn't, to my knowledge, have a sleep timer, but it does have speed control. Obviously, the basic things, play, pause, back, forth, and that kind of thing. You can share, that's one lovely thing as well. And for the most part, you can share in all podcatchers, okay? Sharing, do you want to share it to Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere else? Yes.
We have one more, we have another question.
Okay, yes, the question before, yes.
Yes.
Lynette, my question is,
yes,
when you subscribe to a podcast
yes,
in Overcast,
yes,
how do you know whether the podcasts are being downloaded or streamed?
You will go to settings and choose that option.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Yes, I learned that the hard way by having everything download. So yes, go to settings, and as it will say something very obvious: stream or download. Okay, and when podcasts come in, do you stream or download them? I would choose streaming, and that's what I have it on now.
Wait, we've got another question
Yes.
here, and we'll be right there.
Okay. Well, my computer is, I don't know what it's
Ethical
called.
question. Is there ethics with this podcast? Like if I recorded what you're saying, do I have the rights to put it up?
If you record what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I'm being videoed now.
Yeah, no, I know, but is there any ethical, is there,
Oh, no.
is it the Wild West like
Well,
the
what you
Wi-Fi?
cannot do, I think, is, let's say you have a podcast, I wouldn't just take something out and put it in without permission these days. So if you, that I wouldn't do.
Especially music. You cannot,
Thank you.
You cannot put music on a podcast.
No. Oh, but you can get freely licensed music. Yep. Public domain music. There's a lot of it out there. Yes.
Was there another question?
Yeah,
Yes,
Barbara.
okay. Here you go, Barbara, here. Right there. Yeah.
Lynette,
Yes.
I didn't understand what you meant about streaming versus down.
Streaming, it's just playing over your Wi-Fi or your data plan. And downloading is it actually shows up on your device.
But what was the problem?
Well, the problem was I had downloaded 400 something downloads. So that was the problem. I have no shame, I'll tell it all.
Okay, Lynette, go on.
You're good? Okay. Well, I wanted to, I'm not quite sure, my computer was on, and I was going to show you QCast, but I don't know. It's plugged in, it's not going on, I don't know. It was just on, so I'm not quite sure. It's not plugged in, so maybe it just sat there and died. There are others, some people swear by a podcatcher called Downcast. I was using Downcast as well for a time, and then it too started getting a little strange on me, and so the thing is you do have choices. So you have Android, iOS choices, and you have a Windows choice. Back in the day, when I used to teach the internet more, I would show folks how to gather the feeds because there was a sort of a feed catcher in Internet Explorer. We don't do that. We don't have to do that so much anymore. I find QCast at $15 is quite a good buy, and it's just nice and easy to use. You basically tab around and use the up and down arrow. Okay? Any other questions as I sit and watch my poor computer sit here with a blank screen? No?
No, there don't seem to be
All
any
right.
other questions. Hold on, I'll
Yes.
be right there with the mic for you.
Okay.
Over there. Actions available.
Where's the mic?
Hi, I'm Fritz, Lynette's favorite student.
Okay, all right.
What if I wanted to create a podcast?
You know, I didn't know if you wanted to be bored with that. There's a little bit of a minutiae. I would start with an editor, a sound editor of some kind. When I was creating our podcast, I used Studio Recorder from the American Printing House. There are others. Reaper is one, and there are tutorials on that. And my gracious, I can't remember. There's another one.
Gold Wave.
Gold Wave. Thank you. Oh, Gold Wave. Yes. So you would create an audio file. Oh, and thank you for bringing that up, because you can then, once you've created your audio file and it's in MP3 format, then you can upload it to a service such as Libsyn, which stands for Liberated Syndication. They're still around, and they're really quite affordable. At the time, you can pay as little, I think, as little as $5 a month.
It's still $5.
There you go. Thank you, Ed. Thank you. You can also have a professional editor edit your podcast. I think that's what Ed does, right, with Mr. Patrick. So if you're not, you can create the raw audio file, and then someone will add music to it. I understand it's called a bed. It's kind of playing underneath what you're saying.
I don't want to dry.
Okay. So there you go. Yes, you can absolutely create your own podcast. That is one of the things we learned back in the day. What is a bit rate? That's the quality. What mic to use? What mic has not a lot of popping to it? That kind of thing. So if you're into that, absolutely explore it. That's what we all did back in the day. Okay, and then we find a service. Again, I'm plugging Libsyn because that's the one I used to use, and apparently it's still around today. And I've been toying with the idea of putting out another podcast.
Let's do it together.
Say?
Let's do it together.
Okay.
Other questions? Nobody has their hand
okay,
up.
that's fine. I just want to very quickly
Page
run
2 of
through
5.
some of the podcasts that I have in Overcast.
Overcast. Twitter.
I might have named them. Okay, hold on one
Actions
second.
available. Dropbox. Overcast.
Here we go.
Overcast. All podcasts.
All podcasts.
Back button. 263. You should do a story. Streamable. June 20th.
There we go.
Settings. Button.
Now, for those who use the iOS products, I use the scrub motion with the 2-finger going back to get there. Otherwise, the back button is in the top left. Okay,
99% invisible.
I don't listen
Actions
to that as
available.
much, but there are some interesting stories on that.
Another round.
Another round.
Actions
The ladies are a little
Appleviz
crazy.
podcast.
AppleViz,
Arts. PBS NewsHour.
very interesting.
Actions. Assistive technology. Frequently
heard
asked
that?
question. BX Files with David Axelrod.
Okay.
Betty in the Sky with a Suitcase.
Okay. Betty in the...
Appleviz podcast.
Thank you, Shush.
Actions available.
I know that. Betty in the Sky with a Suitcase. I'm so glad I ran through this because I wanted to tell you about her marvelously humorous podcast. She is a flight attendant for a famous airline, and she tells you stories, and this is almost how she starts, from the cockpit to the cabin, and believe me, folks, she is quite fun. And she gets other flight attendants and captains to tell their funny stories as well as they travel around the world. It is Betty in the Sky
News.
with a...
CNN.
Shush. I'm
Woman's
going to turn up...
speech off.
Thank you. Of course, that means I won't be able to navigate. Okay, so Betty in the Sky. I'm going to turn this back on.
Speech on. Arts. PBS.
Oh, now what I was going to suggest, is when, and I know you're going to try this out. I wanted to mention NPR and NPR One. Yes. NPR One, for those of you, and I'm 100% sure, oh yes, because I have it. There's an NPR One app for both Android and Apple, okay, iDevices. NPR One it's like it plays one story after another. And depending on the stories you stay on or listen to, it will begin to populate or put in the queue for you other stories it thinks you might like. Okay? So, and it's free. It's a free app. You just have to sign up with a username and password, and you're on your way. I actually learned about a fun little podcast with some young people called The Cooler, and I didn't know about The Cooler. And, and then I was able to then put The Cooler, instead of waiting for The Cooler to, waiting for them to come out and I'm going to listen to it then when maybe it's going to show up sometime in NPR One at some point, I just then searched for The Cooler in my Overcast, and now I can hear it whenever I want, okay? But NPR One is great because then you can hear, things will be cultivated and curated for you, okay? And it just plays one story after the other, and the app is free. I mentioned WNYC. WNYC has Note to Self. It has Snap Judgment and a whole host of other podcasts that you can listen to. I wouldn't be able to tell you when on earth Snap Judgment comes on for real, okay? I have no clue, but I don't have to, okay? Because I can listen to it whenever I want, okay? Have I kind of answered all or any other, or some of your questions about podcasting or getting podcasts? I suggest that you use your podcast app that comes with your iDevice, and if it's not on there, I think it might be in, you can search for it. It's there, right? Okay. And I thank you.